You know that feeling, right? You agree to something and then hours later you're wondering, why did I do that? Or maybe you look back at your career and realize you're on a path you never really consciously chose. Here's the thing, you aren't being weak or indecisive. You were just navigating a space that was already designed for a specific outcome. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this hidden system of control. We're going to deconstruct the architecture of compliance.
Okay, let's just pause on this quote because this is the key that unlocks everything. We tend to think of control as something obvious, an order, a command, something you can see and push back against. But what if the most powerful form of control never even confronts you? What if it works so quietly, so seamlessly within your environment that your own decision-making process, your will, is never even called upon? It's not broken, it's just bypassed. It's made redundant.
And that's really what this first section is all about. The invisible architecture. Look, we all like to think of ourselves as free agents, making our own choices. But the reality is, the most important decisions you make are often pre-calculated by the very design of the room you're sitting in. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's crucial to understand. Your choices are often just a response to the architecture around you.
So let's put a formal name to this: passive mind control. And no, this isn't science fiction. It's a real system that manages our choices using three key forces. First, you've got defaults, the pre-checked box on a website. Second, there are primes, which are subtle cues in the environment. Think about a manager who mentions industry standards right before pitching their idea. And third, there's social gravity, that powerful unspoken pressure to just go along with the group. These things don't forbid you from thinking differently, they just make it feel exhausting. It becomes too much work to even consider another option.
And this is the point I really want you to get. When you find yourself giving in or going along with a plan you don't love, it's probably not because you were outsmarted. You aren't losing the argument. The conversation you're having is just the last scene in a play that was written long before you showed up. The environment was already engineered to make saying no feel like a logistical and social nightmare. The game was rigged from the start.
This whole idea feeds right into the trap of defaults. That easy path we just talked about, it's the most common tool in this entire system. We see it everywhere, every single day. We're constantly given a default option. And yeah, it seems harmless, but we almost never stop to calculate the real long-term cost of always taking the path of least resistance.
And here is the ultimate and kind of tragic consequence of that. It's a phenomenon called strategic drift. Ever wake up a few years into a job and just have that sinking feeling like, how on earth did I get here? This isn't what I wanted. You didn't make a wrong turn. You just followed all the green lights. You've been working hard, doing a great job, building someone else's dream, because that was the only path that was totally frictionless. Your own dream? Well, that would have required a fight. It would have required justification. You didn't give up. You just took the path that was paved for you.
Think about your day-to-day. You accept the default project plan. You use the company's preferred software. You go with the meeting agenda someone else wrote. And you know what? It feels good. It feels productive. You feel like you're being super efficient, just cutting through the nonsense and getting things done.
But, and this is the big but, here's the shift in perspective. To the person who designed that system, your feeling of efficiency is exactly what they wanted. It's the mechanism for what we call behavioral capture. Your desire to be good at your job, to be effective, is the very thing they use to guide you down their path. Your competence becomes a tool for their agenda. Your efficiency becomes their compliance.
Okay, so how does this actually work? Let's pop the hood and deconstruct this system. This is the anatomy of compliance. We're going to break down the 4 key steps that ensure the path of least resistance leads exactly where the architect wants you to go.
All right, let's walk through this. Step 1 is the default strike. An influencer doesn't start by asking, so what should we do? No, they start by saying, here's the standard plan. Right away, they've set the starting line. Anything else is now a deviation from the norm. Next up, step 2, environmental priming. The space around you is subtly filled with cues to support that default. You might see certain statistics on a screen, or a coworker might mention a competitor who used a similar strategy. These aren't arguments, they're just background noise designed to make the default feel familiar and safe. Then comes step 3, choice friction. This is where they manage your free will. Can you suggest something else? Sure, but to do that, you'll have to fill out new forms, schedule more meetings, write a whole report. They're called impedance loops, little obstacles designed to make any other choice a huge pain. And finally, step 4, heuristic capture. After all that, the default, the priming, the friction, the choice feels so obvious, so easy, that your brain doesn't just agree with it, it adopts it. It feels like it was your idea all along, and that's the capture. And the result is this. You feel smart.
You feel like you've navigated a complex problem and made a good, solid decision. But what really happened is that you were guided through a maze that was built just for you. You didn't actually reach a conclusion. You just arrived at the exit they wanted you to find.
So why are we so susceptible to this? I mean, we're smart people, right? Why does this work so well? The answer isn't about willpower. It's about biology. It's about what we call the miserly brain, and why, on a very basic level, your mind actually prefers to be managed. This lays it out perfectly. Your brain has two basic modes. System 1 is your autopilot. It's fast, it's intuitive, and it runs on shortcuts and defaults. It's a metabolic miser. It hates spending energy. Then you have System 2. That's your conscious, analytical mind. It's the pilot. It's amazing for solving hard problems, but it is a total gas guzzler. It burns a ton of energy. Because of that, your brain is hardwired to stay in autopilot mode as much as possible, just to save fuel for a real emergency.
And that leads us to the core psychological vulnerability that this whole architecture exploits: cognitive ease. When a choice feels simple, familiar, and easy, our autopilot brain doesn't just like it, it assumes it must be the correct and true choice. It's just easier to process, so it must be right. So you see, we aren't really being tricked. We're being relieved of the burden of thinking too hard. And in that moment of relief, our will becomes redundant.
Okay, so we know the problem, we know how it works, and we know why it works. Now for the most important part: what do we do about it? This section is all about auditing your environment. It's about reclaiming the blueprint of your own mind and shifting from being just a person in the room to being the architect of the room.
This question right here, this is your trigger. That feeling of relief, that little voice that says, "Oh, this is easy," or "This is obvious." That's your alarm bell. It's the signal that your autopilot is flying the plane. The second you feel that cognitive ease, that's when you have to pause, take a breath, and consciously wake up the pilot. That's when you have to start asking questions. So here's your toolkit: 3 tactical countermeasures. First, the default reset. The next time you're given a standard option, ask this simple question: if we were starting from scratch, is this the exact solution we would build? That one question shatters the default. Second, develop friction awareness. Pay attention. When you suggest an alternative, does the process get easier, or does it suddenly get buried in paperwork? Recognize that friction is a tactic. And finally, the master skill: audit the architecture. Stop just looking at the choices on the menu. Step back and ask, who designed the menu and why?
And of course, this knowledge isn't just for defense. It can be used for good. If you're a leader, this is one of your most powerful tools. You can intentionally design systems where the right thing to do is also the easiest thing to do. Think about it. A system where doing honest work is just simpler than cutting corners. You're not tricking your team, you're clearing the path for their best selves to show up. You're anchoring their best intentions.
And we'll end on this thought because this is really the key takeaway. True agency doesn't come from making a choice. It comes from analyzing the system that gave you those choices in the first place. So stop getting stuck defending your decisions against a well-designed default. Elevate your thinking. Step back and ask who designed the room. Stop defending your choices, start auditing the environment that provided them.